put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Well, the Tobago Updates morning show, I should say. But anyways, viewers, getting straight on into our show for this morning, we are being joined by the Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, Councilor Tashia Grace Burris. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, Kandace. Thank you for having me, and good morning to your viewers. I think we're all very tired.
Certainly. I know you were in all of the events as much as possible, having a good time then.
Well, not even having a good time, actually working, because this year's carnival was really managed by a very small core planning committee, the technical lead of which was Dr. Charleston Thomas. But myself as secretary really kind of pulling the experts into the space to put on, I think, one of the best editions of a Tobago Carnival that Tobago has ever seen.
So we had quite a lot of issues that came out of last year's edition for the carnival. And I know this year the focus was, let's see how we can make it better as we try to form the identity of what Tobago Carnival should look like. Do you think that you achieved some of that goal for this year?
Most definitely. We had several goals that we set coming out of our first staging of Carnival last year. We had several reports that were generated from that committee, generated from the consultant, generated from a couple of people who we asked to kind of weigh in from an outsider's perspective what they thought about the staging of the Carnival. And then obviously we had numerous amounts of stakeholder consultations in the lead up to this Carnival. Some of the goals that we set in terms of this year's edition was increasing the amount of local participation, getting more Tobagonians to participate in Carnival, whether it be in the events, whether it be in the actual parades, certainly from an economic perspective in terms of people seeing the opportunities that a carnival generates, and I think that was most definitely achieved. In addition to that, we looked at getting more corporate sponsorship, which we also achieved. We looked at solving some of the major logistics challenges we had. So we had a decentralized carnival last year. We centralized everything in Scarborough, and I think that was the best decision. It really solved a lot of the challenges that came out of having the carnival in smaller areas that could not have taken the volume of people that wanted to come and participate. And I think that Scarborough really is the home of Tobago October Carnival. I think the persons who played mass last year and enjoyed themselves could definitely say this year they had a more enhanced experience by having the whole length of the route in Scarborough to enjoy for the carnival season. In addition to that, I think that we had an uptake in international visitors as well, because I saw a number of persons stopped me on the street, said they were from New York, they came in for the carnival, who came in from the UK, people came in from Germany, people came in from all over the world basically to enjoy what Tobago had to offer. And certainly we see that as a huge plus. And then on top of that, you had obviously Trinidad supporting in a big way, persons coming from Trinidad and really, really, enjoying everything that Tobago has to offer. And I think finally the biggest win that I take away from this is the amount of love that we Tobago showed to every one of our visitors who came into the space. We showed them what Tobago love looks like, and this is the Tobago love that I grew up knowing about. We put on the harvest face basically, and we rolled out the red carpet, and I think that's one of the things that everybody that I've spoken to has been talking about, the fact that they came here, they felt so safe, they felt welcome, the customer service was excellent. All of the events that they attended were of a very high quality. We improved on our ability to execute events better this year. So I think overall we had we grew, we demonstrated that we grew, we demonstrated that we listened to a lot of the advice that we got. And I think that sets a very solid foundation for next year's staging.
Now, before we get into the rest of the carnival conversation, I want to touch on a little comment, or a little headline, I should say, that generated quite a lot of attention yesterday. And that was in regards to some of the comments that the chairman of NCC, Mr. Winston Gypsy Peters, what he would have said about carnival and collaboration that THA needed to have with NCC and all of that. So I just want to give you a chance to address that.
Well, we put out a press release yesterday afternoon to clear the air, basically. You know, I think people remember what happened last year. You know, he kind of came out in a particular way. And for me, I always believe that people should kind of leave Tobago to see what Tobago can do on its own. And it's really about growing our capacity to be able to do things on our own. And not that we refuse people's help or we refuse collaboration, but definitely we would not be bullied into collaborating with people. And then this year, I extended the olive branch. I actually reached out to NCC in July and had a conversation with their Tobago commissioner. And that conversation led to a formal meeting with Mr. Peters and some of his board members and some of the technical team planning the carnival. And we laid on the table exactly what we required from them. We required training in logistics, road management, procurement, and we asked them to coordinate and sponsor the participation of the kings and queens in the parade. Needless to say, those conversations, we sent the proposal to them, we did everything they asked, and as of yet, we were never formally acknowledged in terms of receipt of those proposals. We tried to follow up by phone, and you know, and after a while, time was going away, and we couldn't wait on them to give us any kind of commitment. So we had to find these resources on our own, and I must thank the persons that stepped up to fill that gap in terms of training. You know, we had to find resources internal to the companies that we have. We also had to find some external sources to help with that. And, you know, I mean, that door was never closed, but by his own admission, I saw him on the day of the parade. You know, he said to me, you know, they were very busy promoting Carnival in Trinidad. They were always out of the country. They were in New York. They were in Miami. He was in Colombia and stuff. And I understand all of that. It's a lot of work to promote Trinidad Carnival. And most definitely for us, you know, if it is that they feel that they still have something that we can utilize, again, that door isn't, despite his comments. I mean, for me, I just put that in isolation versus the rest of the positive comments that we got. And not just the positive comments, but also recommendations from persons who said, look, I was on the road. Maybe you all could look at this. Maybe you could do this if you need this. And that's the thing. When you kind of just let things happen the way that they should, things happen for you. There are a number of organizations who have now come forward and said, look, we see what all are doing. We see that you all have tried. We see where all want to go with this. We want to help. So we're not pigeonholed in accepting help from anybody at this point. We literally just have a number of entities, a number of persons in space who are willing to come on board and help us improve this product. So we wish NCC all the best because Trinidad Carnival is on the horizon. They're launching this weekend. So anybody who's in Trinidad this weekend, they could go and see what NCC has to offer. And certainly we in Tobago, we will continue to do what we have to do. We will continue to mind our business here, drink our water and mind our business. I will continue to mind the people's business. Definitely, most of the recommendations that we have been getting, we can take on board immediately so that we are looking forward to improving on this year's product and having a 2024 that is even grander than what we had this year.
Will there be a debriefing period?
Yes. There has to be a number of debriefings. So there's going to be a debriefing with the core team. There's going to be a debriefing with the security personnel. And I think they have already started having their debriefing, but we would have to have a debriefing with them. There's also going to be a comprehensive post-mortem that will include all of the stakeholders who are part of the planning process as well for them to give their feedback as to their area that they're responsible for. How did it go for them? What would be their recommendations going forward, things like that. And we are also soliciting feedback from persons who have been part of the parade. So we've already sent out thank you emails to our band leaders for participating. We've asked them to send their feedback to us in terms of how we could enhance the experience for them next year, anything that we could improve on. And certainly for us, we would want to continue to solicit feedback from members of the public as to what they saw and what they think that we could do better, how they enjoyed the experience. We're actually collecting a lot of the positive comments because we want to use that as part of our marketing as well. So a lot of conversations have to happen between now and the end of the month, but planning for 2024 has essentially already started.
Grand, that's good news. And of course, because in case you haven't seen the ads that were out there, the 25th to the 27th
of October, yes. 2024, yes.
All right, great. Now, one of the conversations that has been taken up on social media was that whether or not we should leave all the carnival events in Scarborough. And I know you mentioned it earlier that it seems as though Carnival has found its home in Scarborough.
Yeah, found back. Well, originally that was the home, and I think that one of the things that a carnival does is revitalizes the capital, and I think we were able to achieve that. I have not seen the amount of vendors that we had in this space in ages, and I grew up in Scarborough, so I should know. Certainly for me, it was a full circle moment, being very nostalgic about how carnival used to look in the early 90s. Before people started to move in other places and people started to build up other communities, and then other communities started having their own carnival celebrations. For me, I mean, again, we are still part of Trinidad and Tobago, so there will be a carnival celebration in February nationally. And for me, we could support what is happening in other communities in February. So if Crown Point wants to have something, definitely we could look at supporting that. Roxborough wants to have what they want to have, we could look at supporting that. Any community that wants to celebrate the carnival nationally in some way, shape, or form, we can look at supporting community activations in February. But I think the home of Tobago October Carnival is in Scarborough.
All right, great. Now, what about some of the events that took place over the weekend? Now, we saw that the night mass wasn't really so subscribed.
Actually, it was very good. I don't know what you were looking at. I was right there. No, I mean, the thing about, well, let me just say we had few bands registering. But I would tell you that for the few bands that we had registered, they had a large group of players in each band. And I think that traditionally night mass is something that started to grow, and then I think there was some kind of plateau that took place. But I think based on what I saw on Saturday night, there is definitely an appetite for what night mass gives, because you have the Juve, which was what it was. According to the young people, it was a movie. And when you look at the thousands of people that came on the streets for Juve, early morning hot sun, there are some people who do not like the sun at all. They can't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So night mass seems to be more their speed. So when you look at what Pan and Powder gave in terms of getting the people who love the steel band and the older demographic of persons to come out and support, night mass, I think, is a growing thing. It's something that we will continue to support. We will definitely encourage the participation of more divisions of the THA to bring bands, because the Division of Tourism, we brought a band, Island Jumbies. It was a huge success. Thank you to all the staff who participated. I'm sure they had a ball. And we had a number of other bands, Pandora, we had Emerge, we had Country Bookie, we had some good quality night mass bands, and they looked beautiful on the road, the white and the glow so I think this is something that will continue to grow. Certainly in terms of spectatorship, there was a huge amount of persons in Scarborough spectating for the night mass. And again, the thing that we will continue to focus on is encouraging Tobagonians to participate in Carnival. I mean, Pretty Mass mightn't be a speed, but certainly Juve, the speed for some, and certainly night mass for the people who are really not into the hot sun early morning kind of thing. And I think for our second year, I'm very pleased with the growth of the events in general. And as I said, it sets the stage, I think, for a very exciting 2024.
And then in terms of the budget, so I know the budget was about
$12.5 million.
$12.5 million. Now, was that all spent for the carnival, or?
To be honest, I don't think so. I don't want to put myself on record and say. So we're
coming out under budget.
Again, because last year we came out under budget, and this year we're actually in the process of reconciling. So we're doing that this week. We'll be reconciling what we have outside, because what we did was we got some funds to mobilize. So we paid on some stuff in advance, but we will do that reconciliation exercise this week. But I don't believe that we've exhausted the entire budget. We kind of left a lot of room in different line items just in case, because one of the things that we recognize that there's a huge difference that a year makes. You can't take it for granted that the cost of a good or service that you paid for last year will be the same cost of a good or service this year. And when you factor in inflation, you factor in the fact that we now have this procurement legislation in place. You now have a limited amount of suppliers to choose from. We're gonna continue to have a situation when it comes to pricing of goods and services. So, I mean, for us, it's all about managing the expenses prudently. It's about managing expectations as well. And for us, we just want our Tobago suppliers to come on board and support everything that the THA is doing. Because ideally, we want to spend all our money in Tobago. We don't want to have to, because one of the things that has come out of this procurement regime is that our procurement staff in our divisions and our companies are going to look at price as a huge factor in terms of determining who gets a job. So if we have to open that tender out to not just suppliers in Tobago, but suppliers in Trinidad, price is one of those factors that we really cannot compete on. You're going to always have suppliers in Trinidad who could come in at a cheaper price. But what we want to do is ensure that money circulates in Tobago. We want to ensure that we get the bulk of our goods and services from suppliers in Tobago. So we only just kind of asking them to meet us, you know, somewhere in the middle, because I mean, if it gets down to the place where we only looking at price, then a lot of the money is going to go out of the island, and we don't want that. We want to support our homegrown businesses. We want to support our small businesses and our entrepreneurs. So, and we just will continue to, as far as we can, support them and use them for all of the events that we would like to do.
And we're going to expand on that topic a little bit when we come back after this break. So viewers, please don't go anywhere. And in the meantime, share the live, share the live, share the live.
When you're moving from place to place, good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversation this morning with the Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, Ms. Tashia Burris, as we talk about Tobago Carnival. Yes, because Tobago Carnival was this weekend, just in case you were living under a rock. That would have been a very huge rock somewhere.
Somebody would have moved the rock by now.
Certainly. And before we went to the break, we were talking a little bit about the finances of Carnival. And you know, just getting to understand how much of Tobagonians, entrepreneurs, business persons would have benefited from the spend this year. And I know you were talking about some challenges, like in terms of making sure that we have following the Procurement Act and so on. So I want you to expand on that, because there is that criticism out there that a lot of the money that was spent for Tobago Carnival did not go into the hands of Tobagonians.
Okay, and that is very much incorrect. I don't even know who's fueling that rumor, because if you look around all of the events and you look at the service providers, you see almost 100% of the service providers that we would have in our events are from Tobago. From the people who are providing the stage, the people providing the lighting, for the people who are doing the tents, the people who are doing the chairs and the tables, the people providing decor, the people doing the branding, the people who are doing the catering and hospitality. All of these are Tobagonians. Actually, I can tell you right now, based on what I am aware of, that in terms of the activation in Trinidad that we had to use some Trinidad suppliers for that, because we had to mobilize pretty quickly and we had to get things happening down there. So it was easy for us to have that done in Trinidad. And the merchandise, the beautiful merchandise that everybody's seeing in the volumes that people wanted to get their hands on it, we also had to use a Trinidad supplier for that because of the sheer volume of merchandise. I mean, certainly economies of scale is a challenge, because the few businesses in Tobago that treat with that sort of thing were already overwhelmed with other jobs for the carnival for us. So adding that job on top of what they had to do, it would have stretched their capacity beyond their own limits. So there are few things based on just simply resource challenges that we would have to find suppliers to outsource to in Trinidad. But outside of that, as far as humanly possible, it's a policy of the division, it's a policy of this administration to use as many Tobago suppliers as we can. So I don't know where that rumor has come out from, but certainly the bulk of the budget is always being spent in Tobago. But I think seeing the sheer volume of what a Tobago Carnival could bring to the space economically, it's an opportunity for people to get involved in business. I would give you a case in point. Over the weekend, I was getting calls. Ms. Burris, we have no ice. Ice? What do you mean you don't have any ice? I'm like, we went to Tadco. They said that they have this huge order to fill for a promoter. We can't get any ice. We have a small bar on the side of the road. We're doing this, And when you think about something as simple as not being able to get ice in the quantities that you would like, it says to me that whatever happened in the space in the last week leading up to Carnival exhausted the resources that we had on island. Similar to what happened last year. in certain instances, because we had so many fetes. So you had 10 providers literally picking up tents from one event to go and run to scramble for another event. So these things show that when you have events of this magnitude, they literally stretch the resources that you have. Are we looking at the opportunities that are being created by these things? When we look at the amount of people coming into the island, again this year, people calling my phone. You know anybody who rents in a car? You know anybody? And everybody that I know, all their cars are gone. So every single person who probably had a rental within a particular radius from Scarborough didn't have any cars available to rent. So when you again look at what we're trying to do, which is to utilize the events tourism sector to redound us post-COVID, because that's really the overarching strategy. I mean, a lot of people don't understand how I think. I am not a limer. I'm not really very outgoing in terms of being present in events because I'm always working. Because the thing for me is that I have a huge mandate, which is to recover this sector post-COVID. And I cannot relax. I cannot party. I can't do these things unless I feel comfortable that we have achieved the thing that we have to achieve. And we ain't there yet. We're not there by a long shot. Because when I see the rest of the Caribbean and I see what they have been able to accomplish, because they simply didn't close as long as we did, Tobago has a lot more work to do. But what I can say is, based on what I saw with the carnival over this weekend, we're on the right track. So that what the strategy is for me is that we build the demand for the destination. And we see the demand building because everything coming up on the boat was subscribed. Everything coming up on the plane was subscribed. We had our international flights coming in full with tourists, international tourists landing directly on the island. We have to create situations where people need to want to have to come to Tobago. And that has to be month on, every month for the entire year. Certainly. And when you do that, it means that now we build the demand, we build up our capacity to host beautiful events, because it's not just the THA. The promoters did an excellent job. The people who did fringe events did an excellent job. So we're not just depending on the THA to be the only one that is going to be doing stuff in this space. Other people are stepping up to the plate. The mass bands, they stepped up to the plate. You know, the service providers, the stakeholders, they stepped up to the plate. So now that we know that we've created a very solid ecosystem of people who can support the events tourism industry, the THA now on the back end is fixing all the other things, fixing the infrastructure, doing our organizational transformation to attract the kind of talent we need to grow and develop the sector. Also treating with the standards and the regulations, which is a longer term challenge that we would have to fix and more on a national level. And certainly, as I said, us putting on our harvest face and showing people Tobago love. Because it's not even just about customer service, it's literal. We know how to be nice to people. We know how to roll out the red carpet. We don't have an issue with customer service. We just have to become passionate about making people feel welcome, making people feel happy, and showing them the best that Tobago has to offer.
And then what about in terms of Caribbean Airlines and addressing that issue? Because, I mean, clearly we could have had more people coming to Tobago.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you something, hindsight is 2020. I think for me, again, I would always say Caribbean Airlines has their mandate, right? What that mandate is, some days I'm not sure, but they have their mandate, right? They came in the last week as a gold sponsor. So we got some cash, we got some branding, they got some giveaways and stuff. All that is fine. I wanted, for me, because I'm not going to continue to have this back and forth in the media about Caribbean Airlines. Maybe Caribbean Airlines just needs some more convincing. So I hope that what happened over the weekend was enough to convince whoever sits at the level of the board and the management of Caribbean Airlines that they need to do better when it comes to Tobago. Because there are people who want to come here. There are people who want to enjoy what we have to offer. Tobago can continue to contribute to the economy of Trinidad and Tobago by way of growing and expanding our tourism sector. And in order for us to do that, we need airlift. And I just hope that with the amount of rave reviews that we've been getting about the Tobago Carnival and about Tobago in general, that CALS sees Tobago not as a burden, but rather Tobago can be a partner. We can continue to help market Caribbean Airlines. We can continue to partner with them to grow the tourism sector and grow the numbers coming to the destination, and most definitely connecting Tobago to the rest of the Caribbean, because we have already had interest from persons living in other Caribbean territories who want to come and visit Tobago for Carnival. We have had calls from the UK, from France, from as far as Japan, for people who are interested in getting to Tobago to experience Tobago Carnival. So when you talk about the fact that there seems to be a very real demand in the space for what Tobago has to offer, then Caribbean Airlines needs to step up to the plate. And I hope that we did a great job of convincing them of the value of the Tobago tourism product, the value of what Tobago has to offer in general, and we fall in line with their entire marketing campaign of welcome home. Tobago has become like home for so many persons, and we just need to ensure that people could come here, have a great time, and when they need to get back to where they actually live, that they can do so when they need to.
Do you have any data as yet about the numbers of people that came here for Tobago?
No, Carnival? I don't have any data as yet. I'm actually waiting because people are still here.
Yes,
so,
they are still here.
We had a number. We had an official Ash Monday yesterday. So people are still here, and people started to leave yesterday. I saw some people starting to leave Sunday. They missed a real good time. And then the bulk of the people, I think, would start leaving today. Some are leaving tomorrow. In fact, some have a plan to stay the entire week. So I don't think that I'm going to get anything maybe before the end of the week. Maybe by early next week, we will start to see some numbers coming in. But again, for us, based on just looking at it from face on, I can safely say that we certainly increased the amount of Tobago participation, which I'm very, very happy for. I can certainly say that we would see an uptick in our direct international visitor arrivals, and there would have been a number of international visitors who came over via the domestic air bridge as well. And certainly we have mounted Trinidadians in the space. I must give kudos to the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. They really, really, really perform the human service. I mean, they're my former employers, and I could always depend on them to do what they need to do when it comes to Tobago. They put on the extra sailings, made the extra seats available. Their staff is always, I think, working above and beyond duty to get people to move between the islands. And, you know, one of the biggest positives and advantages that they have over the airline is that they can move more people at once. And definitely the Port Authority stepped up this year again, and they really helped move the bulk of the people who need to come to Tobago. And I'm very thankful for that. So I'm looking forward to seeing the numbers and seeing what the numbers say. But again, I hope that this year, I think this year was the year that we had to prove ourselves. Because the first year is all the buzz, everybody's excited and stuff. The first year seemed to have been easier.
Well, I mean, we were coming out of COVID. It was the first major carnival event.
So there was a natural appetite for something like that. So this year, we actually sat down and was like, how could we make it better? Not just improving on the things that kind of went wrong, but how could we literally make it better? And I mean, even in the midst of the planning, because this was 6 months of planning, there were points in time where the criticism was, we're not hearing anything. And I'm like, okay, you're not hearing Bacchanal. That's what you're not hearing. Because, I mean, last year there was a lot of commentary surrounding the carnival. What you're not hearing is Bacchanal, because the court planning team, we worked very much behind the scenes, under wraps, always looking at the plan and doing several iterations of the plan and ensuring that the things that we gave energy to were the things that we could throw our entire weight of the expertise behind. And what you would recognize is that the type of events that we had, there was a variety of events, from the Queen of the Road musical to Two Co's Legends concert and competition in one, to I Love Soca David Rudder. Yeah? And then you're coming into having the festival's grounds being set up. You have our Soca Titans finals. And that was, I mean, shout out to Num Num again. Yes. Oh, and all of the people competed. But Soca Titans finals. And then you have Rocks Glow, which I know people from countryside, they support anything that we do in country. And then you have Pan and Powder, Rhythm, Steel and Powder, which has its built-in audience. And then you have your Juve and Night Mass, everything that the carnival gives. And it really was a snowball. Each event grew in size and number of persons. And we just felt, hey, the only thing we could do is make sure that we get it right. Once we get the events right, we get the feel right, we get the logistics right, the people would come and the people would enjoy themselves. And that's exactly what happened.
Would we see earlier promotion this year? Because, I mean, that was also one of the challenges
we had. Because, again, as I said, coming into this procurement regime, there were certain things that we could not possibly do. That's one. Secondly, we had to navigate those challenges, and based on when things started to happen, I think things happened fortuitously at the time that they needed to. There were some things I would agree that we could have done earlier, but we had some internal challenges that prevented that, right? But what I can say without a fear of contradiction is that there is no ask of earlier promotion for next year. We have started marketing Carnival for next year already. So we started with the Save the Date jerseys. We've actually run out of those jerseys. We don't have any more. They're like good goal right now.
But we would be seeing them more.
We want to run another print. We want to do another print. And we want to continue the marketing because we've already put out the Save the Date. So it means that we're looking at, when we go to World Travel Market next week, we're going to be showcasing a lot of the assets that we collected from the Carnival in terms of the visuals and the photos, and we'll be wearing our Save the Date jerseys on the stand. We will continue to reach out to our regional counterparts, because I will meet a number of them at World Travel Market, and ensure that we can establish a presence in the regional carnivals. So we're talking about seeing Tobago at a Vincy Mass, seeing Tobago at a Crop Over, seeing Tobago at a Spice Mass, certainly looking at Germany in ITB and seeing how we could get some more of our carnival stakeholders to even come on that activation, hook up with the tour operators internationally, see if we can get the packages going, the pricing going, so that we can invite more and get more international persons in to experience the carnival next year, utilizing Tobago Day in New York in August as a huge marketing activation for our Tobago Carnival. And, you know, looking at every single place that Tobago can show up and us selling all of what we have to offer, not just a carnival, a blue food, a heritage, a Easter, whatever it is happening in Tobago. We literally want to create a huge appetite for the destination.
All right, great. I want to thank you so much, Ms. Tashia Grace Burris, for being on with us and for sharing us a little synopsis on the Tobago Carnival. And we're going to be looking forward to hearing from you a bit more because of World Travel Market coming up next week.
Yes, we leave on Friday.
Leave on Friday. Yes. And when will you guys be back?
We would be back on, I think, the following Saturday. So we're coming in over, I think that will be Remembrance Weekend.
Right.
But definitely, I think we will connect while I'm out there because we did that last year.
And of course, we have Tobago updates.
Yes, so. you'll find yourselves all over the world if you need to. Yes. So we will connect during the week, and as fast as information comes to hand, we will make ourselves available to provide it. I mean, before we wrap up, I would want to express condolences publicly to the family of Mr. Carlos Dillon, losing this tourism stalwart in this time. And, you know, I think that has kind of put a damper on some of what we've experienced over the last few days. He has been a brilliant asset to the tourism sector, a esteemed son of the soil. And definitely, I want to extend condolences to his family, friends, everybody who had the opportunity to interact with him, work with him. You know, we are much poorer for his passing, but definitely I wanted to take the opportunity to say that before we wrapped up.
I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
And of course, we at Tobago Updates also send our condolences to Mr. Dillon's family and friends. I mean, he truly was a loss. I was, you know, when he heard the news yesterday, we were just like, oh, wow. This one is a big one.
Yes.
So... Yeah. Certainly. But viewers, well, we're going to go for a break now. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Ms. Lizanne Wood, who's the Secretary of the Association of Female Executive of Trinidad and Tobago, as we discuss Suit Me Up 2023 in Tobago. So don't go anywhere. Remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.